Next one is from Lena. She is asked three questions.
If you want to invest in land, there are three things that you have to be absolutely sure about. So you as an investor, you have to be ready for all of that to invest in land. When you look at the Planning and Zoning Commission, they already have established it.
Next one is from Lena. She is asked three questions. First one is she's asking where should we invest our money, and there are some options she has listed: buying land, buying a house, buying a business, or buying a shopping center. I mean, as an investor, which of these options is more attractive to you?
I invested in all of them, and I'm just trying to see which is the one that makes me the happiest. The first investment that I have made for land, we made money hand over fist. In the sense that this was like a 40-acre parcel out in Buckeye. And then we split the parcel and then we sold each of the four parcels to separate people. And our money actually increased tenfold. Now, the amount that you invested tenfold. So we got excellent return. So I took that money and then I invested in a second parcel in Casa Grande. There was a time wherein they were talking about a rock and roll amusement park in Arizona City, actually. This was almost 15 years ago. So I put all the appreciation there. Per acre value was around $250. So from $10,000 an acre to $250. The land completely crashed because no developer wanted it. They were not building anything and it's not in the path of growth. It was completely a dead investment with no cash flow. So we completely lost our shirt in land. If you want to invest in land, there are three things that you have to be absolutely sure about. One is you need to be either a developer or you need to have concrete plans on whom you are able to sell the property to. Second is it has to be in the path of development. Like they say, you need to be on the right track, but even if you're on the right track, if you sit on the track, the train can overrun you and kill you. Even now in Chandler and Gilbert, even though the market has developed in that area, still there are some parcels which are nobody is able to develop because of whatever the zoning restrictions that they have. Because the planning officials, when they look at the entire city's layout, they already designate, okay, these corners have to be commercial, these corners have to be residential, this can be industrial, this can be high density zoning for homes. So all that is predetermined. If you are going to a brand new area and trying to invest in land, you have to understand the zoning and the plan for that city. And that zoning can change depending on the requests and depending on the new voting that they do. So you as an investor, you have to be ready for all of that to invest in land. Third aspect for the land investments is you cannot get a loan. Most of the lenders have stopped lending on land. There are few that do it for 50% down, 30% down, but most of them have stopped. So you need to be willing and able to hold on to the land for the long term without needing the cash flow. So that means your regular income should be substantial for you to withhold cash flow every month. With this said, if you buy the perfect land in the perfect area, which is extremely desirable by the developers, it can give you a lot of returns. Returns are much more than residential. That's why all the hedge fund companies, the investment companies, the syndication companies, they invest in land because the returns are 10x, 20x. If you're a big time investor or if you have deep pockets, if your cousins and all of them are like in government in India and they have a lot of black money, they get the money through mafia. So those people, land works perfect actually. People from China, they invest in land. For all of them, hedge fund companies, mafia, people with black money, they bring money here from India, they invest, all that land is great. But if you're like a normal investor, if you want to just invest for growth, I would say land is risky unless you know those three aspects. The zoning requirements for that particular parcel, the vision of development for that, and that you are able to withhold the cash flow negativity of every month. I'd like to also share a story about land. In Casa Grande, there also we had like 80 acres and it was just dirt, like desert, nothing. So I went in because there was the amusement park plan right across. So I imagined it to be like how in front of Disneyland you have all these restaurants and hotels. I just imagined it to be like that. And the listing agent who was selling the land put that picture in my head. And I could not get the image out of my head for entire night. So next day I went and bought the property. And the price I bought it for almost 10,000 an acre, and it started going down, going down. And then the next parcel was listed by the bank for $250 an acre. And I'm like, can it be possible? And then I was not sure if I have to sell it and keep it. When the county sends me a notice saying there is a lot of brush on the land, there is a lot of tumbleweeds and all that, and they wanted me to clean the entire 80 acres free of all the weeds. Just to clean weeds in my house, the landscaper charges $250. For 80 acres, the quote was 36,000 to clean the weeds in the land. And then that was one. And after 6 months, I got a notice that there was illegal dumping. Somebody came and dumped oil and all the junk in my lot, and the city noticed it, and they sent me a notice that there is illegal dumping in it. So I have to clean it up. So there is so many nightmare stories with land. So after our experiences, then we invested in another land and we made a lot of good money. But then if you ask me if I have to trade, whether I have to do residential or land, I would go with residential because it's a no-brainer. I can sleep happily, then and still pay my mortgage. If there is a problem, handyman can fix it. I can easily pay for it with no sweat. Even the returns are low, they get good cash flow. It is like easy.
The risk is very minimal.
Risk is very minimal. There is no ambiguity. The land, you have to wait for 20, 30 years for it to grow. And my kids will get the money while I am living here, like taking all the stress. Why should I do that? It doesn't make sense for me. So that is my answer on the land. When talking about business, I mean, we are talking totally different things. So I invested in businesses that I knew nothing about, and understanding that all the business, the fundamentals are the same. You need to have sales, you need to have processes, you need to have marketing, you need to have customers. The fundamentals are exactly the same. We owned a hospice before, completely different medical industry, different from our real estate and mortgage. Same philosophies, human resource management, marketing, processes. So we were fine with it. We sold it for a profit, it's good. Then the family fun center that we had, wherein we do birthday parties for kids and amusement, even there is the same. But operations require your day to day, it consumes your time. Day to day, you have to have somebody watch it. You can hire employees, but you have to have an oversight. Otherwise, business is going to go down. So, any business that you plan to invest in, you have to make sure that you have enough processes set up so that you have an oversight on it. Like if something is going south, you need to be able to jump in and mend it. You need to have key process indicators to tell you that something is wrong with the business. If it is going right, your bank account keeps on going up, so you don't have to worry about it. But if it goes down, it just nosedives, and then you have to be able to handle all that.
It can happen very fast too.
It can happen so fast. Like
It happened in COVID duration.
during COVID, yeah, a lot of businesses, even our business, the rent was $28,000 a month. And then we had to shut down for 8 months. And it's such a big liability. So businesses are not as easy as they seem to be. It takes a lot of sacrifices, and it does take a lot of liability. It can eat up your net worth just overnight. You have lawsuits. Like we had lawsuits at our businesses where people sued us for whatever. The employee didn't do this, employee didn't do that. They were careless. So you have to fight that, and it causes a lot of stress. So you have to be prepared for it. Unless you have good infrastructure to manage the liability, the cash flow, I wouldn't do business. Unless I have infrastructure to manage the cash flow, I wouldn't do land because the liability there is not much. Residential is the easiest to do. Commercial buildings like this building that we have, commercial, the best part with commercial is the cash flow is better than residential. But the issue that I see sometimes is some places are vacant all the time, in the sense that you just cannot find the tenant. Even if you reduce the price, keep on reducing the price, you just cannot get a tenant. So here we have 62 suites.
Wow.
Out of the 62 suites, there are 3 suites. No matter what, I cannot get a tenant. No matter what. Why? Because of the location. So that's why we opened this big podcast studio in this room, because nobody rents this.
So this is one of the room.
This is one of the rooms. Nobody wants to rent it. The reason for that is there is no window, and it's in the corner. So for anyone to enter the building and to find the place, it's kind of tricky. You have to go through the kitchen and find it. So there are some. You have to be sure that the commercial space that you are buying has to be very desirable for a potential business. So if this if somebody is looking for a podcast space, then this space is perfect for them. But the chances of people looking for a podcast space is minimal. Chances of people looking for a general office is high. So all my other spaces are okay for general office. So you need to understand more to see what is more. But as a blanket, if you ask me, commercial commercial real estate provides more returns. That is my experience. That's a fact. But then the fine print is you need to have somebody to rent it. If nobody is going to rent it, then your returns will be zero. So you better know the area, you better know the product, you better know businesses that are willing to take it. Residential is for the dummies, and I love to be a dummy when it comes to it, because I don't have to use my brain resources, I don't have to stress about it. If you are new to investing, I would just go step by step. First step is buy a first time home, then convert that first time home into an investment property. Then keep on buying an investment property whenever you feel that you have enough money for a down payment. So keep on buying investment properties, residential, until you get to 10 or maybe 20 properties. I know families who own like 20 single family residential properties. Then once your confidence is built, then you can diversify. You can buy apartment complexes, commercial buildings, medical office complexes. That will be the next option. Once you have your cash flow built, then you invest in land. And in addition to doing all that, you can diversify by going into business investments, which are excellent for cash flow, because the investments you make in a business is much more than what you get in commercial buildings. But it needs active processes, mechanics, and staff to manage it so that you're able to take care of the liabilities. So that's my long answer. But it's very important that any investment vehicle, when we want to invest, we have to make sure that we understand all of it. Impossible to understand all of it. And you need to be able to at least manage if some eventuality happens, if somebody doesn't rent it, how long am I able to manage it if so nobody rents it? Things like that.
Yeah, and I would say like the answer is very high quality because I can Google the answers, but this answer coming from someone who is actually experienced on these things over the years, like you'll have 20-25 years of experience with these things. So coming from you, and we know you are one among us, like you live nearby. We know you now, people know you. So coming it from you, that has a lot of impact. Like just reading it from Google and asking you and you telling it to us, one of us specifically, that has a lot of impact. If she decides to buy a land and then build a home or townhouse on or a condo on that, what are some of these steps? I remember.
It's a very involved question, but I can tell you this. I know in India, we are used to buying a land and building our own home.
Yes.
But the way things are set up here is most of the planning and zoning commissions, they want to have like a subdivided land wherein they want big developers to come in and build homes together. That's like the most popular option that people see.
Okay.
With that, what happens is just the economies of scale. The larger the development, the builder is able to give the best pricing to the customers, and the cost to build it, the price per square feet, ranges anywhere from $80 to $120 a square feet is what they say to develop a home in a subdivided community. So contrast that to a custom home wherein you buy land and then you build a home and you hire a general contractor to build it. Cost immediately goes to 4x. in the sense that now you're looking at around $400 to $500 a square feet to build on your own. So it is cost prohibitive to have your own custom home. That's the reason a lot of people don't go for custom home. And the construction costs have almost doubled in the last 2 years. So with that, people, the custom home value, as it's almost like sour grapes, right? It's so expensive that people now say, "Oh, it's a headache to build home. That's why we are going for this regular home." The reason for that is it's so expensive to build your own custom home. Everything is prefabricated. If you go to Lennar Home, that community they started before all the builders. What they used to do is they used to have land and they used to offer you to build your own home of your choice. That went away. Then came a time wherein they are giving 4 to 5 floor plans and say, okay, among these four, which one do you want? You pick the floor plan, and then they still allow you to pick the color of the countertop, color of the cabinets, etc. So now that is going away. Now what Lennar does is they just have a cookie cutter home, complete with carpet color, cabinet color, everything, spec home ready to build. And then they say which option you want. And in the community, they have maybe 300 homes with the same cookie cutter option. So they're able to bring all the material from China or fabricated in Mexico, just bringing the home and building it for almost 25% of the cost it would take to build from ground up. So that's why custom homes are not as popular. But if you want to build a custom home, you buy the land first. Again, the system is not set up to have custom homes. So the banks don't want to give loan on the land. So you buy the land first, pay cash for it. Then you get a construction loan. And then with the construction loan, you can build on it. There are some banks which let you blanket everything, the land, and you need to guarantee that you're going to build on it within a certain period of time. Then they do a wraparound mortgage so that you'll have the better interest rate once the home is completely built. But until that time, you have to fund most of the money needed for the land.
Okay.
So custom homes, that's why it has become cost prohibitive for many people. They are not doing it anymore. So the exceptions that we see is people with high net worth individuals. Like we see a lot of physicians do it, business people do it. They go into custom homes. What they're doing is, if you look at the Paradise Valley area, North Scottsdale area, they demolish an old home, and then they basically buy the old home with a mortgage, and then they demolish the old home, and then they reconstruct another brand new home there. So it works out well in that area. So that's one option. That is for residential. Now I know that question. So then if you want to build multifamily, building an apartment complexes is an extremely profitable business. But you need to know what you're doing. First is, when you look at the Planning and Zoning Commission, they already have established areas for where the multifamily goes. You cannot just go into any parcel and assume that you can build a multifamily. You have to rezone something from agriculture to multifamily. You need to have a zoning permit, and there will be a zoning meeting for it, and the planning commission sits down, and if one of the neighbors objects for it, then you are screwed. You could get voted out because all neighbors gang up and say, oh, there is an apartment complex coming here. All these years we were like so peaceful. You don't want an apartment complex here. It is very common for it to happen. It happens everywhere in the world. They don't want big apartment complexes coming anywhere. It is high density living. People don't want high density living. So if you're investing your life savings into a land with an intention to make it a multifamily, then you could be up for a shock or a surprise. You have to be very careful how you do it. But the right way to do it is first have deep pockets for it, identify the land, and go to the planning commission and say, this is what we want to rezone it to multifamily. Then you hire an architect, a surveyor, do an environmental survey. Then the surveyor and architect are going to provide the tentative building plans. Then again, you have to go back to the city with their approval. Once they approve it, you start to build. And even if they approve it, you start to build, you are not done. During the construction, they come and keep inspecting you at every stage of the construction to make sure it is being done properly. And they could be throwing a lot of wrenches at you. So you have to be fully prepared. That's why all the small players, pretty much got eliminated. Now you see big players, companies like Lennar, who are like, it's a national company, it's traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Things of that nature, like those are the ones that are like dominating the construction industry. Small mom and pop constructions, economies of scale are not working out. Like Lennar might be building like 30 communities throughout the country. So the way they are able to negotiate on lumber, construction, costs and all that, they go down and they are able to, I mean, it's very hard for a small player to beat them. So I would be careful in trading how you do it. It's not impossible to do it, but you have to be careful. You have to understand everything. You might be better off just investing in a completed apartment complex and probably get good returns anyway. So why put yourself through so much of torture if you don't have the bandwidth?
Well, let's say Lina does have deep pockets, okay? And they have a lot of cash and they can afford everything here. So in that case, like when we were talking about going to planning commission and going to city, like which office is that? Like where to go? Let's say in Phoenix area.
Yeah, I mean, every city has a planning and zoning office.
Okay.
Every city does it. Chandler, it's in downtown Chandler. Gilbert, it's in downtown Gilbert. When we purchase lands, what we've done is usually the lands go by the parcel number. It's called the APN number. So the APN number, you basically walk into the planning and zoning office. They used to give appointments, but not anymore. You can just walk in. You literally walk into the planning and zoning office. You give them the parcel number, explain to them that, hey, I'm planning to buy this land, and my intention is to convert that into a commercial complex or an apartment complex or a residential complex, and then get their first knee-jerk opinion. Typically, what they say is, okay, they bring out this huge plan. Literally, it's folded, it's long. They have a big table, like maybe 8 times the size of this. They lay it out. They identify the parcel and say, oh, you have that. It is actually zoned for church. They'll say something like that. It's actually zoned for a church.
Okay.
You are welcome to build a church the way it is without any approvals. If you want to change the zoning from religious to anything else, you have to follow the formal process. The formal process takes about 12 weeks or 16 weeks or whatever time it takes. To request a change in zoning, you have to tell them exactly what you plan to do. For that, you have to invest. Lilina, with her deep pockets, has to invest in an architect to come up with a plan, saying this is what intention is to do it for that parcel and submit it to them. Then, depending on the complexity, they might either sign off or they might say, okay, this needs a zoning meeting. I don't know if you're driving across, sometimes you see like dark orange signs which says zoning notice.
Yeah.
And then in the zoning notice, it explains what they are trying to do. Trying to change this church area to an apartment complex. And the zoning meeting is on this day at this time. And then they send out ballots to all the neighbors. They have to vote and they have to send the comments. And if there is a lot of against, if everybody is okay for it, then it will fly through. If somebody has an objection, then they'll have a public hearing wherein you go to the city and there will be a date and time. It will be recorded. It will be telecast on some local channel, and you need to go and present your case, and everybody, all public can come and then talk against it. They'll have placards and some people say, don't bring this, don't bring that and all that. So you have to fight all of that and then you get it. Not that you don't get it, because all the agricultural farms are now converted into residential communities. People object for it, but still planning commission approves it because they want people to come. So it's a long drawn process. Every city has this planning office. They have to go physically to the planning office, get the information. You could call them, but I had good success when I walk into the planning office. I want to share my experience that I had with one of our businesses. We wanted to add beer, and it's in a complex wherein they had Circle K, and nobody else was serving beer. So I had applied for beer license, and it was a very straightforward sign off. Then I got a notice that there is lot of neighbors that are objecting to selling beer and alcohol in the complex. So they scheduled me for the planning and zoning, uh, the licensing commission I had to go. So before I went, then I came into my business one day. There was like maybe 30 people outside my business with big placards, and they were shouting that we can't sell alcohol here and all that. And I had no idea. I thought, I mean, America, everywhere they sell beer and alcohol. I thought it was not a big deal. So I had to go to the planning and commission office. Then I had to present my case. And then how do you present it? I had to hire an attorney to help me build the case, because you just cannot go as a novice and present it. And there could be a lot of loopholes and legalities here, right? So I had to hire an attorney. He just came up with the case wherein, okay, he built a map saying, okay, in other city, this is similar to where it is. There are other places selling alcohol. There is Circle K in the complex. They are selling alcohol. So this should not cause any public nuisance. So he had to build the case, and then I had to make a speech, and all the public had an opportunity to talk against it. And then finally the mayor said it's approved. It's just a process you have to go through. If mayor said not approved, then we are screwed. So there is a lot of ambiguity around it, and we have to be careful, especially land, zoning. You really need to know what needs to happen, and you cannot jump in and buy a place in anticipation. Now, there are investors like me who buy the land, go through this ambiguity, and get the zoning approved until wherein we can build a multifamily. Like I can say, okay, it's already zoned, the city has approved it, here are the plans, now you can go build multifamily. So investors do it, they buy it in speculation, and then they just throw all these options to the planning commission. If Lena wants to build an apartment, it is better she goes and buys a parcel when it's already approved for multifamily. So once she has a plan, then she can tweak the plans. But at least she has a go to build a apartment complex. So it will be very speculative and dangerous for her to go in with an intention to build an apartment without even knowing.
Okay. So she needs to do her own research before even thinking about buying a specific location.
100%. In a city like, if it's almost developed, like Chandler, Gilbert, Phoenix, if you see there is, you can kind of figure out, okay, if with some experience, you can say, okay, will they approve it here? Will they not approve it here? One of my clients, he wanted to build a graveyard. He wanted to have a graveyard, and that was his vision that he has, saying that his grandfather wanted him to have a place so that people can have a graveyard. Then we know city doesn't allow graveyards everywhere. There are specific areas you have to do it. This I found that it was so difficult to get him approval on anything. We have to go all the way to the outskirts. If you go to like Arizona City or Casa Grande, it's open. There is nobody applying for planning commission at all. So they are waiting for somebody to do something in there. So there you can easily go. If it's a not so busy city, if it's a new city, but chances are you can do a lot of stuff. But if it's an established city, it's very difficult. People get rigid because of that.
Wow. And do you think there are other states which are more friendly, like business friendly, or where you can buy land and building a condo or a townhouse or a home is easy for like not business people, not real estate investors, like for ordinary people like me? I'm not sure if you have been doing your research for other states. I know most of your business might be here since you live here. So do you think there are other states which are more friendly towards the?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are some states that are more liberal. Even in Arizona, some cities that are very liberal, while others are not. It's all like directly proportional. The more the population, the more demand from the builders, the more inflexible the government becomes. The less the demand, the more flexible. Like if you go to like Coolidge right now, there is just a prison and few homes. You go there, you request them to build multifamily, they will look at the map and say, okay, even if it is not flexible, they will be willing to bend the rules to accommodate. So Arizona is a growing city. If you go to New York, they'll be more inflexible than Arizona. And if you go to outskirts of Arizona, if you go to Ela Bend, which is between Phoenix and Yuma, it'll be more flexible. I would say we cannot blanket it out saying, okay, Arizona is easy or Texas is not easy. It depends on the town, because town determines all this. The town and how the mayor has the vision, how the planning is done for the city, it depends. Some cities have adopted that they are going to have more industrial because it's closer to the dock, closer to the shipyard, or closer to the airport. They have determined that they'll have more industrial zone parcels. So there it will be easy to open a warehouse. Compared if you want to build it in Chandler, only Amazon was able to open it. I was shocked. Amazon opened one on Queen Creek and McQueen. Big warehouse. So it depends on how much influence you can do to the government. Sometimes government offers shops and tax breaks for all these people. The larger your project, the more employees that you can bring, the better it is. Going back to my example of how we were able to get alcohol license on our business, is because we were able to prove that we are able to hire 10 more people in our business because of this alcohol license. Because of this alcohol license, we are able to attract people. We are able to generate 10 more jobs, which in turn is going to bring revenue to the city, taxes. So everything has to be linked. So you wouldn't think that one city is easy, one city is not. You just, project has to be right for the city and you can get approval for that.